Welcome back to the community once again, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? The agent's call for unity against terrorism in Africa is actually here. Terrorism has never been just one country's problem or state's problems. It crosses borders, it touches families, towns, and of course, nations alike. In Accra, Ghana, ladies and gentlemen, a major conference began with a clear, strong message. Leaders, diplomats, and of course, officials gathered to face a threat that demands a united response or reaction. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, Ghana's president, spoke with calm authority, but with agency that could actually be felt by everyone in the room. President John Dramani Mahama said terrorism is a shared threat requiring a united response. From small villages to capital city, ladies and gentlemen, the damage or the destruction of attacks is the same. Lives are lost, families are shattered, communities are left scared. Mahama highlighted that no single country in Africa can actually fight this alone. A common plan, shared resources, and trust are necessary, ladies and gentlemen. The high-level consultative Conference on Regional Cooperation and Security in Accra aims to improve how countries or states work together.
Our shared conviction that even in times of uncertainty, leadership must be anchored in dialogue, solidarity, and an unwavering commitment to the well-being of our people. I also extend to you my warm wishes for a peaceful and prosperous New Year. This conference comes at a defining moment for our sub-region. It offers us the opportunity not only to reflect, but also to renew our collective resolve to act together decisively and in solidarity with each other. The Accra Initiative was established in 2017 as a regional framework for cooperation in the fight against the spread of terrorism and violent extremism.
Mahama emphasized integrating security, development, and of course governance. These are the three pillars that can actually make regions stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, when security is tight, people can actually live freely. When development grows, ladies and gentlemen, hope spread. And when governance work well, ladies and gentlemen, communities or people trust their leaders. The president was clear on the goal. He says, and I quote, "We aim to lay the foundations for a renewed framework that respects national sovereignty whilst reinforcing collective responsibility." Quotation close. Every country or state in Africa has its own independence, ladies and gentlemen, its rules and its pride. But Mahama reminded the room that collective responsibility is just as important. Security in one country affects all neighbors, ladies and gentlemen. Cooperation must be built on trust, consistency, and of course political will. Let us discuss building regional security and of course trust. The conference in Accra, ladies and gentlemen, didn't actually just talk about problems. It focused on solutions. Mahama outlined a plan for deeper cooperation. The aim is to improve coordination between existing regional bodies. In simple terms, ladies and gentlemen, this means that countries or states in Africa will actually share information, resources, and strategies to stop terrorism before it spread. Security is one part of the plan, but Mahama stressed, or he noted, that development and of course governance are just as vital. Poor governance and lack of opportunity can actually make communities vulnerable or weak. Terrorist groups often take advantage of this weakness, ladies and gentlemen. By improving education, healthcare, and of course jobs, nations or states can actually reduce the spaces where terror can actually grow. Regional solidarity must be underpinned by trust, consistency, and of course political will. This simply means that, ladies and gentlemen, countries or states need to keep their promises and of course act predictably and commit fully. Without trust, cooperation fails. Without political will, plans stay on paper, ladies and gentlemen, and of course without consistency, strategies collapse under pressure. During the conference, ladies and gentlemen, Mahama spoke with clarity and of course calm. He reminded all attendees that collective security respects each nation's independence. Countries don't actually give up on control over their decisions. They actually work together voluntarily because the security is stronger when shared. The moral lesson here, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple but powerful. Leaders must actually balance independence with collaboration. Citizens actually benefit when government acts responsibly, ladies and gentlemen, and communities gain confidence when leaders prioritize safety, opportunities, and of course justice. The conference also showed or demonstrated human compassion. Mahama actually condemned recent terrorist attacks in Niger, that is Neymar. He expressed solidarity with the people affected. This reminder that security isn't only a political issue, ladies and gentlemen, but also a human one, reinforces why unity matters. In this episode, we see the first step in building a stronger, more coordinated regional defense. Each country or state plays a role. Every action was on account, and the lesson is universal, ladies and gentlemen. Trust, consistency, and of course, political will are keys to success. Even with strong plans, challenges remained. Terrorism is unpredictable. Threats cross borders quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Resources may be limited, and coordination between countries or states is not always easy. Leaders at their conference acknowledged or admitted these realities, but refused to let them stop progress. Ladies and gentlemen, Mahama reminded attendees that solutions must be practical and of course clear. Coordination between regional bodies must improve. Okay, security strategies must be simple, fast, and of course actionable. Development programs must target the communities most at risk. Government reforms must build accountability. The conference also emphasized moral leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders must be responsible not just for borders but for the lives of their people. Terrorism tests the courage, wisdom, and of course values of government. By standing together, ladies and gentlemen, states set an example of unity and of course resilience. In the middle of this journey, ladies and gentlemen, it is important for viewers to stay informed and of course engaged. Please like this video if you have not actually liked it yet. Please subscribe to the community and of course turn on notifications. Okay, sharing knowledge about regional security strengthens awareness. Every viewer contributes to a safer, more connected world. Mahama also highlighted the importance of trust between nations. Ladies and gentlemen, trust is earned through consistent actions, shared with commitment, and of course transparency. Without it, even the best strategies fail. By reinforcing these values, ladies and gentlemen, countries create a framework that resists not just terrorism but also division and fear. As the conference drew to a close, ladies and gentlemen, the key messages were clear or unequivocal. Terrorism can actually be only faced together. National sovereignty or independence is respected or honored, but collective responsibility strengthens everyone. Trust, consistency, and of course political will are also essential. Leaders across West Africa, ladies and gentlemen, are now working toward a unified framework. This framework integrates security, development, and of course governance. It balances independence with cooperation. The conference highlighted that solidarity is not just a policy, it is a shared moral responsibility. Condemning attacks in Niger, Mahama reminded the region of human compassion. Ladies and gentlemen, every country or state is affected when terrorism spreads. Every life lost is a call to unity and of course action. Citizens and leaders alike can actually learn that helping neighbors strengthens the whole community. Ladies and gentlemen, the moral lesson is that unity and of course cooperation or collaboration creates strength. Leaders must act with honesty or loyalty, courage, and of course consistency. Communities must support these efforts, ladies and gentlemen, to build safer, better societies. The future actually depends or relies on continuous coordination. Nations must keep working, ladies and gentlemen, sharing and of course learning together. Every success, every improvement builds hope for safer and of course more prosperous West Africa. John Dramani Mahama, the president of Ghana, is actually practicing what we call Pan-Africanism. Yes, and you see the way he's actually trying to create some a bridge between the AES and then the ECOWAS bloc. Of course, this is good, right? We work together and make sure that the needs of the people are answered. This is what we want. So, for ECOWAS states to work with the AES with states against terrorism, I think this is the best approach that can actually help us fight against terrorism in West Africa.